Okay, hi. Just to clarify, I've a couple of friends have said that what they like hearing about is reduced deaths. Maybe that's the thing to listen to when you listen to the sort of data and number broadcast. Just ignore most of it and just try to listen to what you actually want to hear. So if you look at titles and use headlines, and if you don't like the look of it, don't listen to it. Just pay attention to what actually you like listening to. I'm Forbes, the magazine journal Forbes has said that journalists are not really understanding this properly. I agree. On the Good Morning TV program the other day, journalists were questioning the consultant at the IC unit who said he hadn't been vaccinated. They said, do you have antibodies in you? They didn't seem to understand if you have antibodies for coronavirus in you, it means you must have been infected. That's what happens. You get infected, your body starts making antibodies against the virus, and once you've got enough antibodies, your body destroys the virus, okay? So if somebody's got antibodies, they must have been infected even if they had no symptoms at all. If you get infected, you'll develop antibodies. So the journalists are not understanding this very basic science. Yeah, I think that's everything. So you got Forbes saying journalists aren't understanding, and friends, I think, just like hearing about reduced deaths. You just listen to what you enjoy listening to and ignore the rest. I think there's too much reporting. I don't pay much attention to most of it. Hello, welcome back, people of the world. Okay, please like, subscribe, press bell. Okay. Today I'm wanting to go over coronavirus, but a slightly different thing that's been bugging me during the pandemic. I'm going to talk about confusing numbers and dangers, okay? There are a number of other video channels where people make videos just daily or several days a week or weekly, where they analyze the latest data and numbers, okay? I've been avoiding this because I don't think it's very helpful. Also, the other day, a few days ago, the government reported 150,000 deaths in the UK, okay? And then the BBC made a video about 150,000 deaths, okay? This is a terrible milestone, it's the population of Oxford and all that. And then a few days later, 2 days later, or so, a day later, the Office of National Statistics reports there's 176,000 deaths, okay? And it turns out the government figure is based on number of deaths within 28 days, but this is the total number of deaths caused by coronavirus. Whatever the death, if coronavirus has speeded it up, that's the total number that occurred during the entire pandemic, okay? We've been inundated the pandemic with confusing numbers. Every single news agency and media outlet, internet, social media, television, newspaper source has often during the pandemic since March, April 2020, they've been quoting numerous different numbers, and it has been extremely confusing. I found it very confusing and disorientating, and I know other people that have found it very confusing and incomprehensible, and I don't think it helps anyone. I think when there's so many numbers chucked about, even a lot of eminent scientists have said that the government played number theatre. They're just juggling numbers, but they don't know how to handle it, and it just confuses people, and I think it's made a lot of people very paranoid, especially in the first year of the pandemic, and very over worried about the virus. This is a criticism of mine. I don't like it. I believe this figure, that figure should never have been published. I don't know why the government's giving us this nonsense when the actual figure is this, which is about 17% more, I think, or something, 15% more. It's significantly higher. I think it worked out at 17.3% more. This is a much higher figure. The government should not have published this at all. It's rubbish. This is the correct death toll. And it's probably higher than that if you include excess deaths from cancers and so on. It may be more like 200,000. But I can't find any information on excess cancer deaths. I think it's not being published. Another thing that's bugged me a lot is the dangers of all this. Okay, the reason I'm mentioning this is because I've got jigsaw pieces out, jigsaw puzzle pieces, okay? It's one of my daughter's jigsaw puzzles actually. It's probably some kind of princess or Snow White or something, but one reason I haven't been been talking about coronavirus, I've been talking in my videos about the chemistry of viruses in general, but not particularly about coronavirus but about the actual structure of it. But I've been avoiding clinical stuff and pathology stuff and other stuff because basically we're dealing with a 5,000 piece jigsaw, okay? That's why I got jigsaw puzzle bits out. We've been doing a 5,000 piece jigsaw puzzle, okay? And to me, if every piece of it represents a single day, so you got 5,000 days, which is about 5 to 7 years worth of time or something. In fact, I can do a quick calculation. 5,000 days divided by 365 equals, it's actually 13 years worth. Okay, well, this thing could go on for, some people speculate in 2020 it could easily go on for 10 years, okay? That's not far off 10 years. But I just basically didn't want to play with the jigsaw puzzle with thousands of pieces because reporting every day another piece that you find and how it fits into this big picture, it doesn't really help. That's why I've been avoiding talking about the virus and beyond just talking about the actual structure of it and its genetics. I don't think it helps to overanalyze every piece of data that comes out and talk about if you treat every piece as a day and there's thousands of pieces, or even if it's a 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzle, if you're treating each piece as a single day, as a separate day, it doesn't really help anyone if you can't see what the big picture is. You just become worried. You have to wait till you got 95% of it done or 90%, then you can see what the overall picture is of it. So that's why I've not been talking about it. The other thing that's really bugged me during this pandemic is the scary news. In the beginning, I wasn't actually very concerned about the virus because I could see it didn't look like Ebola, which is a very terrifying disease with a very high death toll of 50% up to 90. And so it wasn't Ebola, okay? So I was never very worried. I actually have not been vaccinated. There are reasons for it. It's not because I don't believe in the vaccine. The vaccine, of course, it works. The science is solid. It's not that I'm not a denier of any of the science of any of this thing. I have reasons. There are personal reasons why I'm not. I had the virus probably in April 2020, but I was feeling very crushed by lockdown. I may have had it in November 2020, briefly. I had a bit of odd breathing problems outside and that was the end of it. Just a bit of coughing. Didn't feel tired though. I may have had it when Delta emerged though in January, February 2021. I was very worried because Delta and Delta Plus were meant to be much more dangerous, and I was being extremely careful, wearing face masks, washing my hands. But by this autumn, that had come to nothing. Okay. We were told it was dangerous, and yet it came to nothing. I may have had an infection in August, which was 30 minutes of on and off coughing, and that was the end of it, and I forgot all about it, and I forgot to test myself. Then Omicron comes along, and we're told it's sort of the least dangerous. We're told it's the least dangerous, okay? So I'm more relaxed. We're told it's like a cold, okay? That's what was reported a few weeks back, sort of back in October, November. It's like a cold. I got it. I probably had Omicron. I got symptoms at 29th of December this year, okay? And I spent the last 2.5 weeks struggling with the virus. What I got was not a mild cold, okay? It was a lot worse. It flattened me for the last 2 weeks. I was sick, had horrible flu symptoms. I've talked to my GP about this. I'm irritated at the reporting of this virus. I think there's too much information being released before we understand things properly. They say Delta is dangerous and Delta Plus is much more dangerous, and yet it came to nothing. They say this one is the least dangerous, and yet it put me into bed for 2 weeks. Okay? And I'm still struggling to get over it. But I think too much information is being reported before we understand it. People are different. I spoke to somebody today who said his wife was affected much worse by Omicron than him. I had breathing problems with this as well. Didn't have to go to the hospital though, but the dangers are very confusing. All these dangers, hearing this is very confusing, especially when the way you react to them, or the way, I don't know what the variant I had in August was, but this thing was meant to be very contagious and I could have had it. My symptoms this time seemed to fit this, and yet it completely knocked me out and made me flat for 2 weeks. It doesn't help when there's so much reporting of stuff before it's properly understood, and everybody's different, and it is annoying. I just think there's too much reporting and too much confusing danger. There's too much confusion over what the dangers are. I was talking to someone earlier about this. I don't know what my advice is. I mean, my initial reaction was don't listen to anything, but that probably isn't very helpful. Or at least he didn't actually agree with me as a friend. In the conversation, I noticed in the journal, The Conversation, the government said the government just juggles numbers. In Forbes, they said that the journals, I think, aren't not really understanding much. One thing I want to say that is if you've been infected, you'll get antibodies, okay? If you have antibodies in you for it, then you must have been infected even if you have no symptoms. This is what I really just wanted to talk about. I think there's been far too much number juggling and speculations about dangers and predicting dangers of different variants, and it's all been misleading, and it annoys me. This is why I don't really talk. I suppose it's one of the reasons I don't talk about this virus, apart from the chemistry of it and physics of it and the structure of it that I've been talking about, because to me it's just playing with a big big jigsaw puzzle, and I don't think it's helpful. I mean, I've shown you 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pieces of a jigsaw puzzle there, and it doesn't tell you anything about the picture, does it? You have to have another 30 pieces or something, another 15 to be able to see the picture, or 20 pieces to see the picture. But I'm showing you a bit of jigsaw puzzle, it doesn't tell you anything. That's why I've not been talking about it, and I think a lot of people, I mean, it's fun hearing, I suppose, somebody talking about all the way the coronavirus is, the way the virus has peaked and the way it's dropping off a peak and the way it sort of infects you. But I think one of the other things that was reported was that this new Omicron has something like a 70% less chance of badly affecting or replicating, 70%, it's 70 times less replication rate in your lungs compared to your trachea, okay? So if you have sort of a picture of lungs, the trachea going off, and then sort of the lungs like that, okay? It was reported as 70% less replication rate in the lungs, but higher in the trachea, okay? Well, it's all good and well, and it made me less worried, and then I had problems one night. I woke up at 5 AM and I couldn't breathe for about 10-20 minutes. I had to go outside until I could get my breath back and it all vanished. So this information, although it's fun, actually misled me about the dangers of it. And my chest hurt in the first night, I think, with it, the second night, back in late December. So this information, although it's very fun, 70% less replication in the lungs. I can't remember what the number is, at 10% or something, I can't remember. It's more in the trachea that it actually, that's the bronchus, this is the trachea, okay? That's the bronchus, sorry, that's trachea. That's the bronchus, that's not crossed out. Bronchus here, that's the trachea, I think that's the bronchus, okay? Bronchi come in here. It's fun, but it misled me about the dangers, and I don't appreciate that. I think there's too much reporting of this thing. It's just my view in this. It doesn't help. So, anyway, hope you find that informative. Good night.